and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Chapter 16.
How long has Mr. Darcy been in Hertfordshire?
About a month. He's a man of very large property in Derbyshire, I understand.
Yes, his estate there is a noble one. I have been connected with his family from my infancy. Are much acquainted with Mr. Darcy.
As much as I ever wished to be. I have spent 4 days in the same house with him, and I think him very disagreeable.
I have no right to give my opinion. I have known him far too long and too well to be a fair judge. It is impossible for me to be impartial.
He is not at all liked in Hertfordshire. Everyone is disgusted with his pride.
I cannot pretend to be sorry. The world is blinded by his fortune and sees him only as he chooses to be seen.
Everyone, even on my slight acquaintance, I see him as an ill-tempered man.
I wonder where he's likely to be in the country much longer.
I do not know, but I heard nothing of his going away when I was in Netherfield. I hope your plans will not be affected by his being in the neighborhood.
Oh no, it is not for me to be driven away by Mr. Darcy. If he wishes to avoid seeing me, he must go. We are not on friendly terms, and it always gives me pain to meet him. But I have no reason for avoiding him. His father, Miss Bennet, the late Mr. Darcy, was one of the best men that ever breathed, and the truest friend I ever had. But his behavior to myself has been scandalous. But I choose to forgive him rather than disgracing the memory of his father. Yes, the late Mr. Darcy bequeathed me to the best of living in his will. He was my godfather and excessively attached to me. I cannot do justice to his kindness. He meant to provide for me amply, and throughout he had done it, but when he died his fortunes were given elsewhere.
Good heavens! But how could that be? How could his will be disregarded? Why did you not seek legal counsel?
There was such an informality in the terms as to give me no hope from the law. A man of honor could not have doubted the intention, but Mr. Darcy chose to doubt and is to assert that I had forfeited all claims. I cannot accuse myself of having done anything to deserve losing it. However, I do have a warm, unregarded temper, and I may have spoken in my opinion of him, and to him too freely. But the fact is that we are very different sort of men, and that he hates me.
This is quite shocking. He deserves to be publicly disgraced.
Some time or other he will be, but it shall not be by me. Until I can forget his father's kindness, I could never defy or expose him.
But what could have been his motive? What could have induced him to act so cruelly?
A thorough, determined dislike of me. If the late Mr. Darcy liked me less, his son might not have been jealous of me. But his father's uncommon attachment of me irritated him, I believe, very early in life.
I had not thought Mr. Darcy so bad as this, though I never liked him. I supposed him to despise his fellow creatures in general, but not to suspect him of such malicious revenge. I do remember his boasting one day at Netherfield of his having unforgivable temper. His disposition must be dreadful.
I will not trust myself on the subject.
To treat in such a manner the godson, the friend, the favorite of his father, a young man, too, who had probably been his companion from childhood.
We were born in the same parish, within the same park. The greatest part of our youth was passed together, inmates of the same house, sharing the same amusements, object of the same parental care. My father was highly esteemed by Mr. Darcy, and a most intimate, confidential friend. Mr. Darcy often acknowledged himself to be under the greatest obligations to my father. Right before my father's death, Mr. Darcy promised him to provide for me. I am convinced that he felt it to be as much debt of gratitude to my father as his affection to myself.
How strange! How abominable!
It was actually wonderful that almost all his actions can be traced to pride, for pride has often been his best friend. The abominable pride of his have actually done some good. It has often led him to be generous, to give his money freely, to display hospitality, to assist his tenants, and relieve the poor. Family pride. For he is very proud of what his father was not to appear to disgrace his family or lose the influence of the Pemberley house. Pride. This is a powerful motive.